This is going to be a demonstration of Anaconda Python version 1.8 on macOS 10. This happens to be 10.9 Mavericks. First, I want to show you what a regular Python interpreter looks like. Anaconda, unless you uncheck a default box, will install itself as your Python that runs when you just type Python at the prompt. You can also run IPython from the prompt, which is a more interactive version of the interpreter with some enhanced features. And in order to learn more about exactly what is included in IPython, I'm going to direct you to ipython.org for the creator's website. You can also run ipython space -- help to see some of the various options that are available when running IPython from the command prompt. And then you can use the mouse to scroll back up through the buffer and see what all you've missed. Finally, you can also run an IPython notebook session directly from the command prompt if you want to. And I'm going to get into showing the details of exactly what the IPython notebook can do when we launch it from the launcher in just a moment. When you shut this down, it'll ask you to confirm and make sure that you really want to shut down the notebook server. Now the launcher will allow you to launch the IPython notebook, the Qt console, or Spider from a more graphical environment. By default, the Qt console and Spider are not automatically installed. I have already installed them on this machine. Now, once IPython notebook is running, it's really running, the Python process is running in this command prompt window, which pops up alongside it. But you're accessing Python through the web interface. Once the IPython notebook is running, I'll create a new notebook, and then anything that I type into this cell will be executed as if it was typed into an interactive window. Shift-Enter to execute this cell. From the IPython notebook window's controls, you can rename this notebook to something more meaningful. You can save the current state of the notebook so you can come back to it later. You can download this notebook as either an IPython notebook format file or a .py file, which you can execute at any command prompt. It has some edit controls. You can toggle the appearance of the header and the toolbar. You can insert cells and remove them if need be. You can run either a single cell or all of the cells again. You can interrupt and restart the kernel. An interrupt would stop the script that's running if it's caught in a loop that won't end. And a restart will actually erase everything that's running in the current kernel, including any variables that you have defined. You can also access some of the documentation from here. And you'll find that when you go back, the contents of your notebook have been saved exactly as they were. The Qt console is maybe not as useful on OS X as it is on Windows, because the console, it has a few extra features. You can save your session to an HTML file. You can view it full screen. You can interrupt and restart the kernel, and you can turn on and off some of these extra magic functions, which you may or may not remember the names of otherwise. But other than that, it's essentially no different than running IPython in a terminal window, which we already did earlier. And the Spider environment is more of a full-featured IDE or integrated development environment. You have an interactive interpreter down here. You can type into a file over here and save your script into a .py file. And this editor has syntax highlighting, which will automatically tell you if your quotes are balanced or not. You can run your program. For the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to execute it in a dedicated interpreter, and we're going to have the interpreter stay open after the script is done, since this program will terminate very quickly. But the output of that interpreter just goes into this other window down here so you can see what happened. Once you've typed up your script, you can save it to a file anywhere in the file system. Has some edit controls. You can comment and uncomment things automatically. You can search through your code. You can fix indentation, remove trailing spaces, some other things to fix your source code. You can run your program, or you can debug your program. And you can access some of the documentation on both Python and some of the other optional components. And that's it. That's Python on the Mac with Anaconda.